Well, I'm a little mischievous, and I've given gifts over the years to various married couples, and I remember a few years ago I went by a thrift sale and I stopped and there was a book, How to Have a Honeymoon, Cost me a whole quarter. But that's long gone. And so are the lottery tickets, which never paid off, that I bought other couple. But I did stop at the dollar store. And what do you suppose I found at the dollar store but finger traps, they now call them. You guys, everybody remember these? Yeah, these are great. Nice present for you guys. Kevin, you're really going to enjoy this. Let me open this for you and take one out. And you might be wondering, well, what in the world does this have to do with marriage? Well, let's find out. This was a little challenge that Dan at the soundboard laid before me one day. He found one of these laying around the church, and he says, I defy you, Rolf, to find a way to use this in a marriage sermon. I want you to just drop your hands for a minute. Stick your finger in there. Atalia, let's put your finger in there. All right, just turn a little bit so everybody can see. Now pull. Oh! Now wait a second, this isn't like the wishbone, Put one of your fingers in there now. The harder you pull, the more you're stuck to one another, right? To find true freedom from this tricky little finger trap, you have to push together and come together in love. What a great little lesson. Just a simple little finger trap reminds us that though our instincts are the opposite, that when we're feeling and falling out of love, we pull apart, God says that's when you are closest. What did Ben read? From Ecclesiastes, two are stronger than one. A cord gains its strength from each of its strands. Jesus says, he says, remember this, that a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two become one. And in becoming one, they become a force to be reckoned with, a strong force, and a representative of God's love here on earth. The song said, wherever there is love, there is God. Wherever there is love, as between two, Atalia and Kevin, there is God. Tony Campolo, a famous author and speaker, Christian, he once said this. He says, if I love you because you're beautiful, that's romance. Now, Kevin, I have no trouble seeing how you fell in love with Atalia. She makes a beautiful, beautiful bride. But if I simply love you because you're beautiful, that's just romance, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great gift from God. But Tony Campolo goes on to say, if you're beautiful because I love you, that's divine. You see the difference? Romance is one thing, but experiencing the presence of God in your love for one another, experiencing the love and sometimes the forgiveness that is so necessary in a relationship through Jesus Christ, that's what marriage really is all about. See, I did have more than 30 seconds of things to say about it, didn't I? So remember that. If I love you because you're beautiful, say that. Every once in a while, maybe on every anniversary, take out this finger trap, stick your fingers in there, and remind yourself that it is in pulling apart that you feel trapped and stuck together. It is in coming together that you find the freedom of God's love. You see, if I love you because you're beautiful, that's romance, but if you're beautiful because I love you, that is divine. Now you have picked a beautiful day to be married. Look at the sun coming through that beautiful stained glass. all these handsome groomsmen, all these beautiful bridesmaids, and a flower girl and a ring bearer and beautiful people. Reminds me of a day that wasn't so bright for one young woman. She was having one of those kind of days, and she felt so down, and suddenly the doorbell rang, and she went, and it was somebody from the florist. They had a dozen long-stemmed roses. And they handed them to her, and she was just immediately struck. Why in the world? Who? She took the flowers, she found a vase, and she arranged them, and then she noticed the card, and she opened the card with trembling fingers, and only to read on the card, "From a secret admirer." She thought about it. Was it her boyfriend? Was it an old boyfriend? Was it her family? Could it be her parents, her grandparents? Then she thought about her sister, and she called her up, and she said, "Natasha?" Oh, no, she didn't say that. She said, "Did you do this? Did you send me these flowers?" And her sister said, "Yes, I did." And the young woman said, "Why would you go to such extremes for me?" She said, "Because I wanted you to spend a gloomy day like this thinking about all the people who love you." And her sister concluded, "You did, didn't you?" You did. Now, I always say I've got the best vantage point at every wedding, because I can see mothers wiping the tears, fathers smiling, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, all cheering you on for their love. Look over your shoulders. Look at these great-looking people. Look at them. They're all cheering for you. But you got one more, a secret admirer. Not so secret in this moment. Where there is love, there is God. Remember that. Caritas et amor. Let that be the motto of your marriage. And don't forget the finger traps once a year. And then surprise her someday. Call me up and I'll give you the saying. You can write it down. One morning, roll over and look her in the eye and say, "If I love you because you're beautiful, that's romance, but you are beautiful because I love you, and that's divine." Amen.